Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Back for another week. Pat the Designer, Shea Norling back in the building. How you feeling, my guy?
I'm good, man.
How was the weekend? Good weekend?
It was excellent.
Good
Yeah.
weekend?
I enjoyed myself.
Oh, good baseball weekend for you?
It was, and I stayed in. Yeah, a little Sunday night baseball.
Yeah, it was a good baseball weekend. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was sitting there. Cubs were just Cubsing it up. I just
2 out of 3 from the Giants. I was at the Sox game yesterday.
Yeah.
The young core.
Yeah.
Looks good for the White Sox.
Fun young core. Hot take, hottest take in sports media right now. This take is so hot, it's burned. If Justin Ishbia takes over before the Cubs actually decide to change their mindset, the White Sox will end up being the best team in Chicago with the chance to win a championship. Because he's just going to walk in and go, would you like $700 million to play for my team?
I simply don't agree with that, and we can leave it at that.
There you go.
The Cubs are good right now.
That's cool.
I simply don't agree. But that's cool. I'm glad that you're flying a little high.
Falling off at the end.
What are you talking about?
At the end here.
Like the way that the Cubs get talked about, yes, I have concerns about them, but people act like they've been ass. They played 500 baseball for 1 month. They are the second best team in the National League. They have the second best run differential in all of baseball. They have the best run scoring offense in baseball.
Is the pitching concerning?
Yeah, of course.
Has the pitching been concerning the last 2 years?
Yes.
Have they addressed the pitching?
Not in the last 2 years.
I don't expect them to do it this year either.
That's ridiculous.
That's the entire
That's
thing.
absurd. I'm sorry. It's just dumb.
Same thing for 2 years.
They were good. What do you want them to do? Wait, I'm sorry. Last year when they were in last place at this time in 11 games under 500, you wanted them to buy pitching? Are you out of your mind?
I wanted them to buy pitching before it got to the point where they were 11 games under 500.
Well, then they should have done it, what, May 1st?
You knew you needed
like, I don't
starting
know.
the year.
The thing that just confuses me is people compare this year's Cubs to last year's Cubs and the 2 years ago Cubs. Those two teams stunk. They weren't good. They were in last place at this point in each of those seasons. This year they're in first. We'll see what they do. Yeah. The one thing, and this is a Bears issue too. We're gonna get sidetracked a little bit.
Let's do it.
I can't stand in this town. It bothers me, and I understand it. I haven't been here long enough, and I didn't grow up dyed-in-the-wool fans of these teams.
Yeah.
So I have a little more objectivity. I haven't been strung along for the pain of seeing this happen year over year over year.
Yeah.
I understand where it comes from. But this whole mindset from fans in this town that because something hasn't happened, it means it will never happen. Don't get it. I don't get it. I expect more as a fan. With my teams, I don't accept the way you have behaved. I demand you behave differently. That's how we should approach the Cubs. Not, I don't expect nothing to get done because they haven't in the last 5 years. Well, those 5 years existed in a different context, and as a fan, you simply demand that they get the new thing done.
Yeah, I agree with
the
you.
wait and see approach it bugs me, and it feels exclusive to this town.
I agree with you, but you have to think about, and I think you just said it, when you look at the Bears, why was this offseason so shocking?
Because they did things differently.
They've never done it this way. Okay. Literally, we've been trying to build a team since '85 the exact same way.
But that's my point.
I get it, but you can't say I don't get why fans in this city feel this way.
I get it. I just don't agree with it or accept it. I don't have to sit here and say it hasn't happened, so it won't happen. I demand change. That's my way of doing it.
I mean, I get it, but then you're going to sit there every day and just go change, and they're going to go no, and then you're just yelling at the sun at that point.
Well, then let's just give up and stop being fans of teams. I don't know what you want me to do.
I didn't say give up either. Listen,
but I can't do this thing where I look at the Cubs right now as the second or third best team in the NL, whatever it is today, and I go, oh, well, they haven't bought pitching in the past, so they won't this year. I actually think they will. You might not be satisfied. It might be Seth Lugo and you'll be upset, which I think is ridiculous. He was a Cy Young finalist a year ago. But I'm just making the point, I was told when I got here, the Bears will never do it this way because they've never done it this way. What happened? They did it. So give them praise, and now it has to play out on the field.
100%.
Teams are allowed to change. You just demand that change.
I think that is true. Teams are allowed to change. I think it's just in this town, it's more of a shock, and especially when you talk about the Chicago Bears. We look at this offseason, it was stunning. When we literally went in and we were sitting there naming all the Bears moves, we were like, Ben Johnson's right there. You can get him. Mike McCarthy got fired. That's it. He's the next head coach, right? Like that's the option they're going to go with. They didn't. So you give them credit when they do. And I think the one thing about Chicago that I do love, and that I think a lot of fans don't understand, the glaze that is going to come if one of these teams commits, very similar to how the Bears have. It's why there are fans that are nervous right now. But I think a lot of fans would tell you this is the most exciting season they've been looking at in a long time. This is probably the most exciting. Am I out of line saying this? Most exciting season since Jay Cutler was traded here that you had hope for?
It's the third straight year that's been the case, in fact. I think that's the biggest fear with Bears fans is, like, I just read a CBS Sports article about the best off seasons in football, and the Bears came in at number 1 in the rankings list. And at the bottom of the little blurb that came with it, it said the Bears were number 1 in this list a year ago.
Yes, I guess that is true. You were expecting more, but I don't know. To me, this one feels different. But I guess maybe you're.
It does.
Right.
This one feels more
right.
real.
Yeah,
it feels like you're not doing mental gymnastics to explain why Eberflus
does it feel like
here.
less ifs? That's the big thing to me. This doesn't feel like if Ben Johnson does this, and if Dennis Allen does this, and if. Last year was like, well, if Matt Eberflus does everything we expect him to do the opposite way, this may be very different. And I feel like that's a big uphill battle to climb.
Yeah, well, I'll stick with the Cubs comparison for a second because, like, to be fair to the Cubs, they have done it before and semi-recently. It was a decade, less than a decade ago that they had a $220 million payroll when that was an unfathomable number. That's not anymore, but it was then and they had it. So, like, it's more me understanding they can do it again. The Bears, this is the first time we've seen it. So there are still ifs for me because we just haven't seen this before, and it has to play out a certain way.
Right.
I can expect it to happen. It doesn't mean it will.
I think the thing for me is the ifs are less likely to go the wrong direction, right? Like in my mind,
yeah, I think they'd be more
no
surprising.
If Joe Tooney sucks. I've never seen Joe Tooney suck.
But he is what, 34?
34,
like he's
which
long in the
happen.
tooth.
34?
It's
Tooney 32, I thought.
Whatever it is. I know he's
Still
on the wrong
over
side
30,
of 30. I'm just making the point. Like, yeah, I think the ifs all
32 for
going
Tooney.
wrong would be more surprising than a year ago. But it doesn't mean they can't.
It doesn't mean they can, and usually in this town they do. So I understand as fans, we do. We play the you got to show me approach, and I'll be honest with you, I don't even. You probably no, you weren't here because we were kids. When the White Sox were doing it, we were probably well past All-Star break when people were like, "This team might go win a World Series," and then the last month of the season, last 3 weeks of the season happened. And you just watch that lead dwindle away, and you were like, I knew it. I knew it.
I'll tell you, I'm going to make the sycophants and the Kool-Aid drinkers happy today because we talk about ifs with the Bears.
Yeah.
We're doing the position group breakdowns as the summer goes on. The group we have to talk about today, I got nothing negative to say about. It is going to be glowing endorsements from me. I'm very excited about this group.
Let's jump into that. But first, we do got to let you guys know today's episode brought to you by the Advantage Dealer Group. Find your next Chevy, Toyota, or Acura and drive off in under 60 minutes, or they'll make your first car payment. Also brought to you by the Hard Rock Casino in Northern Indiana, Las Vegas-style gaming, just 30 minutes from Soldier Field, exit 6, right off of I-80-94. All right, you brought it up. The DB group is who we're breaking down today. We broke down the defensive line. There were a lot of concerns there, but when you talk about depth in a situation, Shea, I've said this when we went into the draft, and they were like, who was the DB that everybody was like, could you take him at 10? I said if
Will Johnson.
I said if the DB guy says take him at 10, that means he's going to be an all-pro. I trust this DB guy with my kids. Whoever the scout is that's getting this right is winning at an elite level. When I look at this DB group, to me, this is the deepest group, and it's led by a player that I think, oddly enough, is still somewhat underrated among his position. I think he's one of the top 2 to 3 DBs in the NFL, and I think with Dennis Allen, he's going to get better. How elite do you feel Jaylon Johnson can be in this Dennis Allen defense?
I mean, he's been arguably the best cover corner in football. 2 years ago, I think PFF graded him as the best cover corner in football. And it's the trait that you see when you really are elite. Like, he didn't lead the league in interceptions. He wasn't a ball hawk because nobody would throw to his side of the field. Like, when you're truly an elite corner, you won't get your name called a lot because you just erase half or a quarter of the field.
Yep.
Whatever your responsibility is, it's just not an option. He's got to get back to that this year. And I'm willing to write off some of the struggles last year as they quit on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, they quit on their coach, the Hail Mary stuff, the effort level clearly declined. You've heard that from players that have talked about what went wrong, and if that Hail Mary happened, that wouldn't have been the way that it was. Maybe they win 10 games. I can write off a lot of the struggles, but that means he's got to get back to it. And I think he's going to be in a scheme that's beneficial for that. He's going to play a lot of man-to-man coverage. We're going to talk about it, but I have a feeling they'll leave him on an island in certain situations, and I'm kind of hopeful that they'll do something with him that I haven't seen the Bears do, and I've seen one team do to immense success.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful. We'll get to it. I'm hopeful that they'll do that, but he has a chance to get back to being one of the 2 or 3 best corners in football, like you said.
Yeah, I think the thing for me with Jaylon is that there were so many times where you would look at these guys who had numbers against him, and you would go, okay, but when did he get those numbers? Justin Jefferson last season in first game, right? He was non-existent until he got moved on to Tyrique Stevenson, which really opened up the field for him. And at that opposite side, I think you saw a lot of some of the struggles that Tyrique started to go through post-Washington game where teams were just like, we're going to attack you. To me, Jaylon Johnson, being able to follow the number 1 wide receiver around is going to help him so much this season. I think the big question that a lot of fans do have right now is it going to expose him as one of those guys who actually got helped by being on one side of the field and you get 2s, you get 3s on you, and that helps your numbers? Or is it going to show, no, this is one of the best coverage guys? Like you said, his PBU numbers are elite. It's top. It was the best in the NFL, I think, last season. His pass breakup percentage. So to me, like him being able to follow the number 1 receiver around, it's going to make the contract he signed, which is a good contract, even better.
So let's just talk about it because I disagree. I would like to see the Belichickian style here. I would like to see Jaylon Johnson on an island against wide receiver 2s. Dennis Allen's going to run so much man. We are not going to see the Tampa 2 zone stuff that we saw from Eberflus last year, where it is like this is your part of the field and you just shadow whatever comes into your space. Yeah. Jaylon's going to run with guys.
100%.
He is the best corner in this unit.
100%.
Not close. I want him covering 2s, solo. So you take on Jordan Addison, for example, or you take on Jaden Reed with the Packers, and you just shadow them and erase them from the game. And on the opposite side of the field, give me Tyrique Stevenson on a wide receiver 1 with a safety as help. Double team wide receiver 1s with Tyrique and have Jaylon have the responsibility of erasing the wide receiver 2. This is what the Patriots did to elite levels, and it was their calling card when they were really good, was we're going to take your best weapon out of the game.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it. Like the year Stephon Gilmore won Defensive Player of the Year as a corner, they weren't erasing the Tyreek Hills of the world with Stephon Gilmore. They were erasing them with like a backup corner and a safety doubling them in bracket coverage,
game,
and there's just nowhere to go. I would like to see Dennis Allen do it, and I think the scheme lends itself to it because it's so much man-to-man. You can bracket cover guys and let Jaylon handle his responsibility on a lesser weapon.
I think what gets tough about that, though, is, right, we saw the opposite. Maybe that goes into the Tyrique Stevenson conversation. You know, we saw Tyrique against the number 1 options because when teams would literally go, oh, Jaylon's just on the left side, okay, Justin, line up on the right. Those were the moments where, you know, the big plays happen, the game gets away. Now, like you said, could be very different if you're bracketing them a little bit more. You've got, listen, I got to think a lot more if Jaquan Brisker's coming downhill to help. You know what I mean? I got to think a lot more because he's going to hit really hard.
And a Tampa 2 or a zone coverage scheme defense is just a different context where you're not like, you're on Justin Jefferson at the line of scrimmage, but your responsibility is not to shadow him. It's to cover that area of the field, whatever your responsibility is. I think if you bracket a top receiver with 2 guys in a man-to-man scheme, that's more effective.
I could see it. I'm not opposed to it. I think you have the kind of DB room, and I think that's kind of the better part of this. You have the kind of DB room that you can do something like that. That's not a, unbelievable thing to say. Because for most teams, it's like, why would I not put Jaylon Johnson on Justin Jefferson? Or why would I not put Jaylon Johnson on Tyreek Hill? I want him on the best guys on the field, although they may be Jalen Waddle now. But I want him on the best guys on the field no matter the situation. I do think you have that opportunity here. One, I would love to see the coach is going to break that news to Jaylon. But because I think for Jaylon, he's looking at this as an opportunity.
He's a competitor.
Yeah,
he's an ultimate
He wants to go up against these number one guys. And to be honest with you, the numbers do. I think that's the thing about Jaylon for me that gets me excited about him being in this scheme. It's not like when he's on the better wide receivers, he's not doing that. There are moments where he is erasing Justin Jefferson from the field. It may not be in both games, and that may be where you have to have an adjustment. But we've seen that back and forth where Jaylon comes out and he takes on the number one receiver, and they literally just don't throw him the football for the entire game, and they say, we're living on number twos. So that conversation can be had about the number one. It depends on, I think that could also be a games matchup thing.
I think it's not it's not something I'm saying is going to be on every snap.
Right.
Because there'll be situations where you might have Tyrique and Jaylon Johnson both on islands. And if that's the case, obviously I want my best corner on the best weapon. And that could be reasonably often. Going back and watching some Dennis Allen defense from the Saints, a lot more single high than I would have expected to see. So I don't know if we're going to see a ton of cover two man. A part of that is because he likes to play a safety in the box. He likes to have a nickel corner kind of just as a de facto edge rusher. And that leaves no room to have too high safeties or too high defensive backs playing a deep zone. You can't have as much support without that. And then you do end up with corners on islands, in which case I would put Jaylon on the best wide receiver.
Yeah.
But you make those decisions on the fly. There are formation subs for a reason where you'll see guys motion across the field and follow whoever the guy is, given whatever play they're running.
Within the division, who do you think that mindset best suits to go up against, right? So if you're going to put Tyreek on them, Lions got Amon-Ra, Packers, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Vikings with Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. Would you rather see that on those teams, or do you want to see Jaylon take on that number one matchup on those teams?
It's interesting because, like with the Lions, I think I'd rather see Jaylon on a guy like Jameson Williams, who's a bigger threat to beat you over the top. Like Amon-Ra does a lot of his work in the nitty-gritty part of the field. Yeah. Not even in the slot, but it's a lot more short targets. It's a lot more yak stuff. He's being asked to make plays after the catch. I think I can work better with a linebacker and a corner and kind of double that and just worry about don't let Jameson Williams break the back of our defense. The Vikings are kind of a different deal. Justin Jefferson's a world beater. I would like to erase him from the game, but that might be an impossibility. So maybe you put Jaylon on him. The Packers, frankly, I don't think they have anybody good enough that I'm worried about it. Like, they don't have a game-breaking receiver. Christian Watson scares me.
Here's the thing. I think they do, but he's the most injured guy in the division, wide receiver-wise.
He's also, when healthy, he's not that kind of player. He's not an Amon-Ra. He's not a Justin Jefferson.
No, he's not on their level. He's not on their level. But I do think that you have a
I don't even know if he's a DJ Moore. Like, he's fine.
That's probably the range I'd put him in. But see, the tough part is, you don't see it enough. And the moments that stick out because you don't see it enough are the bad moments.
Yeah.
The moments that stick out are the drops because, buddy, you ain't been on the field enough to drop this wide open touchdown in the end zone. So I do understand that. Keeping it moving here in this DB group, very excited group here. You now also have the highest paid slot corner in football.
Yep.
And with Kyler Gordon in this defense, with him being the highest paid slot corner in football, are you expecting him to be just that, hey, I need you on the field just in these moments, or do you think he has a bigger role in this Dennis Allen defense?
It won't be just in these moments. Dennis Allen runs nickel. I mean, we've talked a lot on this show. You're not going to see base defense.
Yeah.
You're going to see nickel a lot. And again, I went back and watched some Saints tape. 3rd and long situations, you'd have a safety on the outside of the field, right up pressed on the line of scrimmage, and a nickel corner right pressed on the line of scrimmage. And it was usually a linebacker dropping in coverage, and 3rd and long especially, you're sending pressure with the nickel. Like, to me, in 3rd down scenarios, Kyler Gordon's going to be on the field, and he's probably going to be a pseudo edge rusher.
Yeah, I can see that. I think there's going to be a ton of corner blitz. To me, when I see Kyler's game, every time he's on the field, I think last year we were like, why aren't we seeing this more? Mm-hmm. Like, he's fine in coverage. He's not bad. Like, you put him out there, he can get the job done, especially in the slot. I think he's really elite, and when he gets that matchup coming across. The part for me, though, where I think he thrives is just his speed off of the edge, and I think Dennis Allen can utilize that so well. And the thing that I love about it is it adds another wrinkle to your game, not just that he's going to attack, but now anytime Kyler Gordon walks up to that line, there's going to be a quarterback going, what's he doing over there?
Coming or not?
Now
Yeah.
you can change the mind of that QB so quick. He's playing up, hey, we're running the football. We're changing whatever the play is because I got to worry about him coming down. I think that just opens so much up for coverage on this team, for the defense on this team. And to me, I think Kyler Gordon, him and Jaquan Brisker are two, and it's at weird positions, I guess, but like they're going to be two of the most important people in this defense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because they're both going to play downhill a lot more than I think they'll play in coverage. Brisker, and people on YouTube will get mad. I'm sorry. It is what it is. I don't think he's great in coverage. I don't. I think he's phenomenal when he's playing in the box, and his job is to get physical and body somebody off their route or bump someone or get in their face at the line of scrimmage. I think he's awesome in the run game, getting downhill and attacking a ball carrier. I think he can be excellent when used as a pass rusher sparingly. Obviously, the biggest question with him is health.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing to me with Kyler Gordon and the way Dennis Allen calls the defense. His biggest difference-making ability is pass rushing from that kind of exotic position. Yeah. And it lets you disguise coverages. It lets you confuse quarterbacks. If you're stacking him right off the edge of a defensive lineman or an edge rusher and he's playing just outside, say, Dio on 7 of every 10 third down snaps, he doesn't have to come on all of them. But if he's coming on some of them, it'll make a quarterback have to adjust protections and have to think about, okay, is he dropping out? And if he is, or is he coming down? And if he is, who's dropping out? Or if he drops out, maybe you screwed up and moved your line over to cover it, and now you have a free rusher through the middle. Like it just offers so much opportunity to get exotic and get creative and do interesting things in the blitz game when you have a player like Kyler.
We talked about the defensive line last week. Do you feel like this is why they went this route with the opposite edge rusher? Because you've got a Kyler Gordon on the team, because you've got a Brisker, where we know what these guys can do. And if I need my speed, that's them. My speed off of the edge, Kyler, Brisker, I need you down on the line. Versus Dial's not the fastest guy off of first step there, but he's a guy that can set an edge and does that really, really well.
I think so. And I had kind of an epiphany moment where if they're not going to be in base defense very often, then they don't really need 2 edge rushers. If they're going to be in nickel this much. Now, it's risky biscuit because if you are going to play nickel a ton and send pressure from your corners, it leaves downfield.
Somebody's got an opportunity.
So if the blitz doesn't get home, you might give up some home runs or some big plays, and that'll hurt. But if it works more often than it doesn't, you're going to have a really good defense.
Yeah, it's to me, this DB group allows Dennis Allen to have so many toys to play with here where you can talk about, of course, you still want the pressure from the defensive line, but like you've got good enough coverage guys, like the conversation we were having, to leave guys on an island, which makes the blitz more viable. Right. That gives you more opportunity to say, listen, I need y'all to cover for more than 3 seconds. I know that's very tough to do. You're talented enough to do it. We're going to send this and get to the quarterback. It opens up that opportunity more. And I think this is something we talked about last season that we expected to see with Flus being more aggressive, talked about being more aggressive, just never happened. And, I mean, Kyler Gordon got a little bit banged up. Of course, Brisker getting banged up, that changes things. But even when they were healthy, we just didn't see that wrinkle of the defense. And I think you have the perfect DB group to do that with, especially – I mean, like, with a guy like Tyrique Stevenson, I know we all looked down after the Washington game and we're like, it fell off a cliff, oh, my God. As you start to break it down, again, like you said, a lot of the defense quit. I don't think Tyrique's season last year was as bad as some people want to make it out to be.
Well, he had a really, really loud mistake.
Yes.
And I think
it's
fans...
an NFL history mistake. That video will be played forever.
The Chargers put it in their schedule release. And they don't even play the Bears.
Yeah, I know.
It was one of the loudest errors that you will see. And I'm not even saying that the play was entirely his fault. I don't think it was. Kevin Byard made a big mistake that nobody talks about on that play by coming up and not defending the rebound on the pass. Byard
that
coming...
was Tyreek's man.
I know, but I've said Byard coming out of the end
Coming
zone.
out of he should have stayed in there probably and recognized it.
It was
but
multiple
I
guys.
think everyone was shocked when Tyrique just came in out of nowhere. It was like, what's he doing here?
Well, it was Tyrique made the loudest
Yeah,
mistake that you could possibly make, and John at the fans, and he paid the price for it.
Yep.
And I think it's been talked about up there this offseason, and it sounds like there's been positive development from what I've heard about what's going on with Tyrique. The rub is he's a really good player. He's very talented. If he can get his mental right and check in and be focused, he can be really good.
Yeah. Is this a boom or bust year for him? Like, is this Al Harris is here, new system here?
Oh, make or break for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say boom or bust because I'm not like.
Well, I think he's talented. I guess that's the wrong way to put it, right? Make or break type season. He's not a bust.
We know you're talented.
Yeah.
You have to have production on the field. You have to be elite in cover. Not elite, but you have to be really good in coverage, and you have to show us that we can pay you. Like, that's the key. If by the end of this year we're looking at it and going, I don't know if you can pay Tyrique Stevenson.
Yeah.
Well, then he's not going to be here. Like, this is the reality of the moment that the Bears are in.
That's probably the one position group where being the starter means nothing. I mean, it didn't mean much last year anyway, right, with Tyrique, because you saw by the second half of the season, 2 years in a row, Terrell Smith getting a ton of run in there as well. It almost was even snaps to finish out the year again last year.
Well, clearly the coach didn't like Tyrique after the big moment.
Yeah, that was fairly obvious with a lot of the group out there. I think what's interesting to me, though, is like, for me with Tyrique, this is a season where he has the most to gain. It's probably the year where you can solidify yourself as, okay, you are the guy opposite. I don't think we have that answer yet. I think that's still a question mark right now. Do I think he's more talented than Terrell Smith? Yeah, I do. I think he's got more physical gifts.
I do too.
But Terrell Smith walks in the game and gets the job done.
Tyrique's my biggest question mark. There have been moments where I've thought he looks like a really good player. It's like George Pickens as a corner. There's moments where I think he's a really, really good player, and there's moments I'm like, how the fuck did you let that happen?
That's not a bad take. George Pickens as a DB, that's not a bad take. Because I feel the same way about George Pickens, where it's like
he's immensely
he's one of the
talented.
best wide receivers in the league, and then a ball will hit him in both hands, and he'll punch a guy because he dropped it.
It's just there's for every 5 great Tyrique plays, there's one that you just go, what the hell are you doing?
Can you live with that, though? Because here's the one thing about Tyrique that, and Al Harris talked about this when I was sitting there asking him about Tyrique, and I was like, is the goal not to coach the aggressiveness out of him, but kind of keep him between the lines a little bit better? I feel like Tyrique is the thorn in a wide receiver's side. He's the guy who, he's got the talent, but the chirping, the extracurricular, fingers in the face mask, all the stuff that he does.
I mean, some of that stuff's got to go. The chirping, I'm fine with. Talk your shit. That's the NFL, man.
Yeah.
And you should play with an edge, and you should talk shit to people, and you should have that like competitive fire in you. But the extra stuff, the finger in the face mask, and what did he do? He tripped Jamison Williams.
Tripping Jamison Williams.
Like none of that. Cut that out.
But see,
but that's why I say it's all mental.
That's what scares me about it, though, because some guys, not to say that I think his whole entire talent is on that, but that's how he gains that mental edge. Jamison Williams, I think he had one catch after that, and maybe it was because they went other directions and stuff like that.
He's not a volume catch guy anyway,
right?
Though, you know what I mean?
There's not a slew of weapons, but it was to me, it was one of those moments. I think that was in the first game where it was like, oh, they may have a chance to win this because, in Tyrique's way, you kind of took a guy away because of the penalty. He was off of the field for a couple of plays, comes back in. I just think that's a part of his game that I would almost say toe the line. Do not cross the line, toe the line. But it's also gotta know where the line is.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, that's why I said I'm fine with him if he wants to talk and if he wants to chirp and he wants to be aggressive, do that. But don't do stuff that's going to cost your team 15 yards. Cut that stuff out.
That's the one where it's like sometimes, and I think there's some coaches that'll say this, sometimes take the penalty.
Well, no,
and it depends on the player. You know what I mean? Like, if you can get in the guy's head and get him off of his game and it costs you 15 yards, that's going to help us in the long run of the game.
People might not like this, but there's a difference between an edge rusher who sees an opportunity at a clean shot on a quarterback and just says,
and takes it.
Fuck it, I'm taking the 15 yards here. Like, quarterback running down the sideline and dancing, about to step out. You don't know if they are or not. You level your shoulder and you take the 15 yards if they do it.
Name the Bears quarterback for the last 10 years.
Just to, like, let them know, don't play that way. We
Caleb got
will
one last year.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We will hit you.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that. There's a difference
Wasn't it
between
versus Detroit, actually? I think it was in the Detroit game. Yeah.
There's a difference between that kind of penalty and the Tyrique kind of penalty where you're tripping a guy as he's running down the sideline, or you're putting a finger in a face mask, or you're saying something unnecessary. Do what you have to do, but know where the line is, that you're not costing 15 yards for something dumb.
Yeah.
If it's a aggressive play where you're going to let them know you won't get away with that, cool. Take the penalty once. Take the penalty.
Right. Yeah.
But none of the nonsense.
You're fine with the come in late hit.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's football.
We got it. He's down, and Tyrique comes in and drops the shoulder. Like, I got something for you.
That's football. To an extent. I'm not saying you go headhunt or try to assassinate anybody, but yeah, that's football. It's physical, and you should lay the rules down in the game. Like, you aren't going to do this. It's what I said about Jaden Daniels last year ahead of the Washington game. People lost their minds.
I remember that when we were talking about
I said,
ribs.
Yeah, if Jaden Daniels has a broken rib, hit him in the ribs. If he's running out of bounds and it's borderline and you think he's going out, but he's still in, you just crack him, because that's football. And if they throw a flag and it's 15 yards, you take the penalty, but you let him know you don't get to do that shit against us.
Who was the
Send a
Washington
message.
radio show that tried to go at us for that and didn't want to credit us for the take?
I know.
Like,
They couldn't believe
these
it.
Guys, I don't know the shows. That's
They
nice.
they couldn't believe I said it. And I'm like, what are you, is this the first time you've ever watched football? You want to play tap dance on the sideline, I'm going to have you schedule a date with the Gatorade cooler.
Yeah,
That's the game we play.
Yeah. I loved it, too, because then Yurko's like, yeah, absolutely. What are we talking about here? The other thing for me with Tyrique, and you look at kind of last season, is this a new lease on life for him? How long do you think his leash is this year with some of the things we have, knowing Al Harris is here? I know Zay Frazier is a rookie here, but Al Harris went and drafted Zay Frazier. He walked in the door and said, get me this kid and I can make him into something. There's clearly a guy in here that Al Harris likes. I know he's a later round pick, but that means something when a coach scouts you, walks in the door and says, get me my guy.
So for me, it's short. I can't speak for how the Bears feel about it, but for me, it's a very short leash because of everybody you brought in.
Yeah.
Like, you have an elite defensive coordinator who has been a head coach. You brought in Al Harris. There are pieces in place that should limit the nonsense. So if we're 3 weeks in and the nonsense is still happening, we can't afford it.
Right.
You're done. Like that, it just has to stop. And that's my only real hard line with the secondary is, like, Tyrique's got to get his mental right. And if he does, I think he can be great. And if he doesn't, the leash will be short.
Yeah. I think, to me, and I asked Al Harris this, and I was like, at that point, they hadn't been in the building. He's like, I haven't seen him. I haven't talked with him a ton. I haven't gotten my hands on him to see kind of where his mindset is. But this is all new for everybody. It's 100% clean slate. We're not worried about what happened last year. And I think that's the mindset a lot of these coaches are taking, which may give guys a little bit longer leash, because I think even the outside world looked at the Bears coaching staff and looked at the guys in the building and went, what is happening up there? Like, I think there's a lot of those guys that they were like, I would love to have this roster. What are you guys doing up there? What is Matt Eberflus doing? What is this coaching staff as a whole doing, where it is going to afford guys a little bit more leash? The one thing that I will say, though, and I think, kind of what I said before, when you start to pick your guys, right? I think on the offensive end, the guy we look at is Cole Kmet. Love Cole. Think he's a fine player. Love him as a tight end, probably top 10 in the NFL.
Yeah. Nope. Let's not do that.
Maybe right outside?
Nope.
Right outside?
Nope.
Oh, you got him low?
Nope.
Yeah, well,
Sorry.
Wait till
Nope.
we get to the tight end group. That's going to be interesting.
Nope.
Point is, though.
I don't even think he's tight end one.
Point is, right, Colston Loveland is in the building. You just took this guy. That's going to be a very big conversation as we get into the season, and we'll see what ends up happening.
Can I just sidebar? We're going to do tight ends with wide receivers. We're going to do a pass catcher
full
room.
receiver
I'm
room.
not sitting here
receiver
for
room.
25 minutes
You
breaking
don't
down
want to break
tight
down
ends.
Durham Schmite, my guy?
No, I
Schmitty?
don't.
Smith?
Isn't he a Bengal?
Smith? No, who's old boy that we just signed this year? Wasn't it Durham Schmite? Wasn't that his name?
I thought he was a Bengal.
I might be wrong on that. He's tight end 3. We got him from the Dolphins. I don't know what his name. He might be tight end 4. I thought it was Schmite. I might be tripping. Am I?
Durham Smythe. Wow,
Smythe,
yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
I missed it.
I know the
I thought
best.
I remember Durham Smythe as a Bengal.
He was
but,
on
all right.
Dolphins last year,
Yeah,
I believe.
I'm
and-
not breaking down Steven Carlson. Who the hell is that?
Yeah, I think
No,
it's
just one.
one S in Carlson.
I'll give you $100. You can tell me where he went to college.
Western Michigan.
Nope.
Oh, that was a good pull. I was going right there. Is yellow? Color's yellow?
Not really.
Okay, never dang it. I was
Orange.
gonna say West Virginia. Orange? Syracuse?
Nope.
I was gonna say
Princeton. You're not making the team. Keep it moving. All
He
right.
was on the team last year.
Well, he won't be this year. We got Colston
got
Loveland.
Colston
He
Loveland,
will not
baby.
be on the team.
When you look at this DB group, let's finish it out with this, Shay. Appreciate you guys for rocking with us. Hit the like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. When you look at this DB group, where do you rank them in the division, in the league? Is this one of the best DB groups in football?
Yeah, I think so. I thought it was last year. I thought it was 2 years ago. It can be potentially the best, but it hinges on health. They're deep, but they're not deep enough to sustain a Jaylon Johnson injury. They're not deep enough to sustain a Kyler Gordon injury. Clearly, they aren't deep enough to sustain a Jaquan Brisker injury. But when you have, like, if Tyrique is right, which is the biggest if in this whole conversation,
Yeah.
and if Jaquan is healthy, which is also the biggest if in this conversation, then I think the pairings you have where you've got Jaylon and Tyrique Stevenson as your top two corners, and Kyler kind of as a cornerback 3 or nickel, and Terrell Smith in the rotation, and maybe in like a cover 1 scenario, Kevin Byard's playing center field, and
Yeah.
you've got Brisker on the line. Yeah, this is an elite group. And they're certainly better than the Lions. The Lions DBs don't impress me at all.
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, you like Carlton Davis?
No, I'm good. I literally was like, they got rid of their best DB, and then we're like,
Like,
we're kind of good there, I guess. I don't know.
the Packers lost Jair Alexander, and I don't think have much depth at all. Xavier McKinney, I love, but outside of
Ball.
Xavier McKinney,
Ball.
outside of Xavier McKinney, what do they have? It's not the greatest group. The Vikings, I'll just be frank, it's hard to find holes in their roster. They have a Super Bowl roster. They just, if the quarterback is right, is the biggest question. So I won't impugn the Vikings. I think they have the best roster in the division.
The
to be honest with you.
Vikings have dominated 2 off seasons in a row.
Which is shocking because they don't believe in the draft. Like, at some point, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, the chickens have to come home to roost. You can't keep living without draft picks and having success, but they find ways where every year I look at it, I'm like, damn, their roster's good.
It is shocking, dude. Like, I looked at them, and I get it. Like, they're the team that everybody feels, rookie quarterback is going to be. I'm like, I don't think you move on from Sam Darnold if you think JJ is going to be a project this year. I think you probably think JJ is going to hit the ground running, or at a minimum, he can do exactly what he did at Michigan with 2 really good running backs behind
I think you move on from Sam Darnold when he costs $40 million. No matter what you think of your rookie, your second-year quarterback.
Yeah.
is. No matter what you think he is. When Sam Darnold costs $40 million, you move on. Here's the rub.
Sam Darnold $40 million there versus Sam Darnold $40 million in Seattle is 2 very different. Sam
No, it
Darnolds,
isn't.
though.
Because what can't they do? If they signed Sam Darnold to an extension, you can't get the guy they got at center from Indianapolis and Will Fries.
Oh, Will Fries, yeah.
What's the guy? Ryan Kelly, is it? Ryan Kelly, the center? They got the center from Indy and the guard from Indy, Ryan Kelly and Will Fries. They paid through the nose to do it. You can't do that if you pay $40 million to Sam Darnold. It limits roster building. And also, we'll sidetrack the end of this so I can get a little rant off.
Here we go.
Sorry to do my Stephen A. Sam Darnold blows. He stinks. Seattle going and getting him is one of the most tragic mistakes of the offseason. If I'm wrong on this, I'll be shocked. He holds the ball for an hour.
Yeah.
Now you're going to put him in Seattle, outside on grass,
Where he's worse.
in a rainy weather city, behind a shitty offensive line. I don't understand it at all. Oh, and we traded away one of your top 2 weapons in DK Metcalf, so have fun with JSN and stuff.
JSN.
Outdoors on grass where you hold the ball too long and your O-line stinks. He had the ultimate benefit last year. He played inside on turf with an elite play caller, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, behind a really good offensive line. He has none of those benefits now. He blows.
That was a take the money and run situation for him, because I literally was like, dude, you can go to multiple teams here that the offensive line is so much better than Seattle's. And yes, you will make less, but you will look like you can be competitive.
I will.
He is going to look really bad this season.
Like your feeling they wouldn't move on from Sam Darnold if they didn't feel like JJ's a project. I don't think that's true, because I think they saw everything they can get out of Sam Darnold, and it will not get them to the promised land. You had the final game in Detroit against the Lions. You got housed, in large part because the Lions blitzed their ass off, and Sam Darnold sat back there patting the ball like he had an hour to throw. You didn't. You got sacked. What did he get sacked? 9 times in that game?
I want to say yes.
He was on his back.
He was. Hey, and by the way, it was a shocker because the defense was dead by that point. The Lions were.
They sucked.
Shea, I saw you out there. I saw you playing DB.
Their defense sucked, and they got home on Sam Darnold seemingly every play.
Yeah.
What happened the following week? They played the Rams. Jared Verse is sacking him again.
Yeah.
Like, it just... He is what he is. I think Kevin O'Connell saw it. I can scheme this guy up as much as I want, but when it comes to playoff football, he holds the ball too long and he can't handle pressure. Period. Move on. We're not paying a guy like that $40 million.
Sacked 9 times.
At least JJ, if his knee isn't exploding, at least he can escape pressure with his legs. Darnold? No, he can't. He's a pumpkin.
He was in there.
Big moments, he's a pumpkin.
You gotta be able to deliver that football. Listen, I love it. I think either way, JJ or Sam Darnold back there, Bears are getting doing a little blitz from Kyler Gordon this year. It's gonna be a head remove. Kyler Gordon's gonna remove someone's head. Remember that? What was that preseason last year? Like the only time we saw a nickel blitz the entire season.
Yep.
And it was first the backup. I think it might have been the 3rd string quarterback for the Bengals, and he killed him.
Nasty work.
That's diabolical. We should have known Flus was gonna be on games then. But I'm so excited about this DB group, and like you said, we have been the last few years. To me, I think you have. We'll see what the CBS Top 100 comes out. The NFL Top 100 is coming out here soon. We'll see what you have. I think Jaylon Johnson is arguably, if not the 3rd best DB in football. I think you can do a lot with that. And when you have guys that you can just say, go do your job and we'll worry about it. And the part that I love is I believe early in the season, teams are going to test him. And he's going to prove, no, I'm still that dude. Don't play with me. I'm still that dude.
I hope.
And by the end of the season, we will be able to see some of the things that you pointed out, because it is going to be that side of the field is still dead. Don't look over there because the ball's not getting through. So
that's the hope. And really, it's what it has to be, because they paid him a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's the same feeling I have with
Still a
Montez.
good contract. I feel good. That's one of my favorite contracts on the team.
Yeah, it's a somewhat
it was shocking.
It's also a somewhat discount because you didn't have to pay him Jair Alexander money.
Yeah.
If they did, they might have moved on.
Yeah.
So there is a benefit to it. But when you make top dollar, I need top dollar performance.
100%. And we got guys that's making top dollar on this team. So
it's the most expensive defense in the NFL.
Are we really?
Yeah.
I don't know if I knew that. The Bears are the most expensive That's crazy. You better play like it. The one, and we'll break this down. Is this next week? Is that what we say next week? Linebackers? The linebackers next week?
Yeah, we should do it. It's the group on this defense I have the second most concern about behind the defensive line.
Seems like a lot of concern, but you feel really good about the DBs.
I love the DBs. Dude, the last 3 years I've loved this second. I think it's excellent. The rest of the defense, I'd like to come up to meet them.
If we're talking about highest paid guys, I believe Tremaine Edmonds is the 3rd, maybe lower now, 3rd highest paid linebacker in football.
Can't have that.
We'll see what our evaluation is of that group coming up next week. But we appreciate you guys tuning in and showing love as always. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. Leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. For Shea Norling, it's your boy Pat the Designer, back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bear down, one love. Courtney Cronin is back tomorrow. Pull up on us. Peace.